Welcome to our innovation slot, and we're really honored to have Thomas Riedl here. And yes, his name sounds very German/Austrian, but you're based in Mountain View or in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. So you guess he's from Google, obviously. And for the next half hour, we want to talk a little bit about ChromeOS Flex, the main benefits and how it fits in our ecosystem, our industry. And Thomas, maybe just a few words. When did you start working for Google? What's your job? Could you just give us a short introduction?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So thanks for having me. Excited to be here. Already learned a ton here over the last couple of days. So I'm originally from Austria, yes, but then after university, I decided to leave for just new adventures. And I joined Google, started in London office. Worked a lot on the advertising side of the house, actually, a bunch of the core businesses that we're running, and then moved over to headquarters in Mountain View in California. Worked a bunch on Android TV, Android phones, and then eventually made my way into ChromeOS. I do now run the product team for ChromeOS on the enterprise side and education side. So it is a huge chunk of our business, and basically the way to think about this is it's anything that has a chip, right, that powers a big screen. Could be a laptop, could be a box, could be a little stick. And yeah, pretty exciting to work with our teams across the globe. The reason I'm here this week is obviously this opportunity to speak with all of you here, what's going on in the industry. But we also have a really big engineering team based in Germany, based in Munich. And so that was a great opportunity to check in with folks.
So part of Chrome is made or developed in Germany, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Made in Bavaria.
German engineering.
Wow, we didn't know that. That's a good marketing thing. You should use that.
Yeah, we should use that.
Thomas, you mentioned already 2-3 points which are important when we talk about Google Chrome OS. One is the biggest differences to Android. And secondly, advertising. I know it's a very, very different business, but when you mention digital out-of-home, digital signage, and Google, most people think, oh, it's probably advertising driven, or how does it connect, and does it know my data and everything? We know it's different, but I think it's important that before we start going a little bit deeper, just have a short introduction. What is the difference between Android and Google Chrome OS, and then maybe also that there's diff/no connection to advertisement.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we start, love to see a show of hands. Who actually knows what Chromebooks are? Oh, wow. All right. Excellent. Even before you got the lanyard, I hope, because obviously we're a very prominent sponsor. Excellent. That's good to hear.
We promise them a Chromebook, when they leave the thing. It's like Oprah Winfrey, oh, there's a Chromebook for everyone.
Exactly. Everybody gets one afterwards. That's right. So what's going on here? Why are we doing this? What's going on? So this is a Google effort. And we are deeply invested in operating systems. But the way we look at this is that we want to have purpose-built operating systems for different use cases. And so we've invested in Android more than 10 years ago, right? But we've also in parallel invested in Chrome OS. And you could say, well, they're the same, they're overlapping. But actually the way to think about this is the bigger the screens get, the bigger the workload gets, the more you need a desktop class operating system than actually a mobile operating system. And so Android, is beautifully covering the spectrum of mobile devices, right, tablets. It gets you pretty far, but at some point, right, you hit a wall in terms of just the envelope you have to run really complex things, beautiful signage displays, right, powering really fancy laptops that we all are working on. And so this is where Chrome OS comes in. This is where we keep saying the moment you need a big screen, this is where Chrome OS takes over, and for the smaller screens, you have Android.
But Thomas, there's more, because there are hundreds different versions of Android, and there's only one Chrome OS, right?
That's right. So we've approached Chrome OS very differently to what we did on Android. Android was let 1,000 million billion flowers bloom, which was great. It really give you as partners oftentimes the opportunity to just customize it from very bottom up to the top. On Chrome OS, it is a different approach. But the different approach is that we can guarantee you the security of the operating system. We can guarantee you that it runs super well. And because we give you the blob, this entire operating system. We ship a new version every 4 weeks. And we actually keep it fresh, secure, and updated. And then you can build on top of that. But the operating system is such, the way we've designed it is extremely secure. And we guarantee that. So as opposed to Android, sometimes anybody can pick it up, right? You can do whatever you want with it, and then you turn it into something very different than what Android might have been a couple of years ago. In Chrome OS, this is a fully managed system. And in this space, right, kiosk and signage, all the customers we talk to, all the partners we talk to, this matters because stability matters. What you care about is that this device runs 24/7, right? What you care about is that this doesn't go down. You don't have a blue screen like from our friends in Redmond, right? You don't have to worry about your golden image. You don't have, like all that insanity, right, of trying to keep an OS running. We take care of.
But then the industry did a mistake in trying to use Android as their main operating system, or I mean, they should all convert their SoCs to ChromeOS. Would ChromeOS also run on an SoC?
Right. So one thing we recognize is that when you get a Chromebook today, it actually is a fully end-to-end system. So you buy hardware that we also designed effectively. We realize that's one way to do it. But a lot of you, right, you have devices already in the field. You have existing Windows devices, God forbid, right? And they might run okay sometimes, right? Sometimes not. And so we keep saying, we don't want you to buy new hardware if you have existing hardware in your customers' right, premises and all that. So we keep saying the operating system is the problem that we can fix. The hardware is fine. So the hardware is, let's say, Intel i5, a couple of gigs of RAM. The operating system we can replace, and this is a new product that my team launched last year. It's called ChromeOS Flex. And you might have heard about this because we wanted to bring the best of ChromeOS to all your Windows PCs, all your PCs and Macs. And so you can actually take this and power your digital signage devices with a much more secure and easy to use operating system.
And I can extend the lifetime of existing PCs because with ChromeOS it uses much less performance, right? So
that's right. Yeah. So one thing we found, we actually, I mean, I saw it for myself. I had a Windows PC. It's been basically dead for a couple of years. I had it in the attic. I brought it back down. I charged it up, and ChromeOS Flex brought it to life, right? And so I actually am able to use it for a couple more years because the operating system is lightweight. It just runs super fast, and it's just something that Microsoft had written off years ago. And sustainability for us is so important in all this because I really hesitate. I don't want more devices to be sold just for the sake of it. I'm not in a business. I mean, my sales guys will and girls tell you something different. But I'm not in the business of selling devices. I'm in the business of making your business actually work better. I'm in the business of making sure you get the most value out of the devices you have. Making sure you power signage for years to come, and you don't have to worry about device refresh all the time. And Flex gives us that opportunity.
But Flex works only on certain hardware, right? I mean, you have certified like more than 100 devices or so, but would it also work on an embedded system? Because in the digital signage industry, we often have, Windows system, I assume it's a little bit easier,
yeah.
But also other systems. So where are the limitations currently? I'm sure you're working on other things, but it's still difficult to grasp, why are so many devices running on Android if maybe Chrome OS is a much better system? Is that something you're looking at, or is it something to expand the installation, or it's not in your focus? You say we focus on Chrome OS designed hardware and Windows hardware with Flex.
Right. So this is definitely focused today. We can help you take care of your Windows 10 IoT. We can help you take care of your Windows 10, 11 XP deployments for sure. We don't support ARM yet. So that also rules out most of the Android footprint. But that's okay. I'm a big believer in focusing on a few use cases and making sure they work super well instead of spreading ourselves super thin. And so that's really the conversation we would love to have with you at this show afterwards. My team is around, right? So ask these questions and tell us, what do you need? Like, where are your pain points? How can we help you? And one thing I found, oftentimes people don't think about the OS at all. That's been one of the biggest challenges for us. Like, we are really passionate about the product, but everybody's like, okay, I guess it's Windows. I guess it's Android. But we can help you change the conversation because we truly believe there's something better.
Many in the industry use Windows because clients are used to that. The IT departments are used to that. So how is the uptake of Chrome OS? I think it differs a little bit from North America to Europe or so. But how big is the installed base? So does the IT department have to fear, introducing Chrome OS, or you say, there are millions of devices, don't worry about that?
Definitely don't. You don't have to be worried or lose any sleep over this. The way we approached this is, we found real pull early on in the States in a few really interesting industries. So one of the pull in the States was education. And education was very powerful because they really held such a high bar to what it means to have a super simple, secure system. because they had no budget, right? And they had oftentimes one IT admin who managed 100,000 devices. And you know, this poor person, like they had no choice, and they were looking for something that's so secure and so easy to use. They don't have to take a class, you know, like they don't have to become a certified admin that, you know, you have to pay a lot of money for. They didn't have the time or the budget or to do that. So that's where we came from in the States. And then we've grown a lot, but I think it's so much I can tell with our teams, you know, when we think about roadmap, new features, it's still in our DNA. We want to make it as simple as possible, right? Nobody's going to look at the manual. Nobody's going to call people. You just set it up. And the other thing is, it has to be very, I mean, ultimately it has to be the best ROI in the industry. Because we can't afford, right, for you to like run antivirus and run another agent and run this and run that, because like it adds to the cost. And so that's where we came from in the States. In Europe, it's different. In Europe, we've definitely seen uptake, for example, in UK, in the Netherlands, we've seen really good success in healthcare, for example, in the hospitality industry. I recently talked to the CTO of one of the biggest Scandinavian hospitality companies, a hotel chain, Nordic Choice, and they've just become one of our biggest fans, and it's been so inspiring to see. It was an unfortunate event, you know, so Nordic Choice, they were hit by a ransomware attack about just before Christmas, super busy time, and all the, like, everywhere across Scandinavia, like the hotels, their computers shut down, couldn't check in guests. They couldn't, you know, they couldn't even know who was in, who was out, pen and paper, right? And they're freaking out. And then they realized, oh, actually we could use ChromeOS Flex. And they took a USB stick and converted all their PCs, thousands of PCs in the course of a couple of days to ChromeOS. And they were back up and running. And so these are the kind of stories I love to tell, because it happens in Europe, it happens in very demanding, very developed markets, you know, like Finland, like Norway, Sweden. And so that's been inspiring to see. So very different markets. And so we're excited to be here in Europe and invest more, because I do believe that's a great fit.
How does it work? Does it come with is it for free? Does it come with a monthly fee? What's included? Device management is a huge topic. It's really driving the industry in the B2B world. Business critical devices need to be remote controlled or managed at least. So what do you have to offer with your platform?
Yeah, this was always a big deal for us, right? When we totally understand, if you run your signage deployments, right? I mean, you can't afford to roll the truck. You can't just send people to every store of a supermarket that you might support, right? Like, you can't afford to do that. And so we very much know that. And so one thing we've done in the platform is we've invested so much in remote troubleshooting, remote management. Because as much as we believe in the stability of our platform, something will go wrong. It's kind of a given, right? Like maybe a hardware component fails, maybe somebody accidentally unplugs the device, who knows, right? Internet goes down. So you need to be able to diagnose really quickly and to be able to do that at scale. So one thing we've done is our solution basically works in two ways. The operating system is for free. And I know sometimes people are like, it's for free, there's a catch, what are you going to do, right? You're going to take all our data. We don't.
No advertisement, that's
no
very
advertisement, that's right. So this is a free operating system. It's a free operating system, but what you pay for, you actually pay for the device management license. So the idea is, you know, if you have one Chromebook, you have two Chromebooks, you put ChromeOS Flex on your old Windows PC for free. You don't have to pay for it. And we want you to use it, send us feedback, please use it often and every day. The moment you deploy it, the moment you want fleet management, this could be restrictions, this could be making sure you only show one signage application, you only allow your users to go to one website if it's a kiosk, right? The moment you say, I need monitoring at scale, I need to know the uptime, I need to know if components are not working, there's a fee. The fee is very sensible.
How big the fee is? What?
Very sensible, that's right. So you probably have to talk to our sales guys to get a good deal.
No, but the list price, just give an impression.
The list price is about $25 per device per year.
Oh, that's
so very
that's good. Yeah.
Very reasonable. And in this case, you get a full kiosk fleet management. The beautiful thing, right, about this is the way we approach this is we're not going to the market alone. You as the provider of these solutions, right? Let's say you have your own CMS, right? Let's say you deploy this at different supermarkets or whatnot. Like, you can build on top of that. We want you to innovate on top of our platform and then take it to the customer together. We are here to support you, right? We can go to these customers with you if you want to, but you don't have to. So you become effectively a reseller, you can become a partner of ours. And so we give you all this opportunity because we don't believe we have all the answers. I mean, the fancy solutions we've seen, the beautiful dashboards you're building, like running your fancy and really powerful AI models, you know how to do that, right? You know what your customers need, and we don't want to be in the way. We want to be an enabler, and we don't want to lock you down either. Like, you can use us, you can try us out, you can deploy us with one customer. A good example, right? Audi, very excited about us. They've deployed us in different car dealerships, but then they might decide to go with another player for something else. So we give you all this opportunity to play with us, try it out, and then see if it works.
Do you have an idea how big your installed base is? How many customers you have already in the signage kiosk world? I mean, the big number I'm sure you have, but is there? I mean, you're quite new to the market. I mean, not you personally, but by Google ChromeOS. So I think you started a year ago or 1.5 years ago, maybe or so. Where are we right now? Do we have already? You said Nordic hotels they're using it already. So some other success stories also in the kiosk world or so you can mention?
Yeah, definitely. So our solution for signage has been around for years. So we have actually been in this kiosk signage business for a really long time.
But this was a different thing. I remember the first launch was like 6-7 years ago.
That's right.
That was difficult, to put it mildly.
It was definitely bumpy.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. But we learned our lesson.
Yeah.
One thing we did last year was we launched a dedicated SKU of our product to make it more affordable.
Yeah.
Because also we realized, right, like it's different if you use Chromebooks for your knowledge workers, your analysts or something, or you actually use it for signage. Very different use case. The ROI is not there, right? So we need to make it very affordable. So we've made a big launch last year with our solution. The thing we see is, and that truly excites me, we see traction in a lot of different industries. To give you an example, a Fortune 500 company called Sanmina, they're actually a very sophisticated contract manufacturer. So they have huge factories, hundreds of factories all over the world. We just visited one of them actually in Mexico, a massive campus. And it was so inspiring to see because they have signage all over these factory floors. You would, you build whatever then your customers ask you as the factory, as the contract manufacturer, and you see manuals being displayed. You see dashboards, right? You see, it's basically every screen we saw in these factories was powered by Chromebooks.
And every screen is business critical because they need to have the information on time. They cannot afford that the screen goes black, right?
That's right, because it's manufacturing, right? It's not a nice to have. Another example I like to give is quick service restaurants, QSRs. Some of you might be in this business, right? It's a very demanding business again, right? Like these screens, the menu boards, the digital menu boards, they can't go down. So we have Taco Bell, for example, Burger King, all the big brands. A big one of ours is actually in Australia. They've deployed us in a bunch of places. And you go into this Taco Bell's, they're currently doing a refresh, and it's crazy to see every screen, the self-service kiosk, the menu boards, all powered by ChromeOS. You wouldn't know it because obviously we're not going to put our logo on it or something. It's the deployment of our customers. It's the likes of Fingermark and Twined. These are local partners of ours in the region. They are first line, right? They're out there frontline doing the solution, but we are enabling them and supporting them.
Is it difficult to develop software based on for ChromeOS? Is it something, if I have already maybe an Android app, do I have to start from scratch, or is it a simpler way to convert that also that it runs on ChromeOS?
Yeah, this is a really big topic, so I'm glad you're raising it. We look at ChromeOS as something that has to be simple for the user, for the customer, but also for the developer. It can't be that it's super a complicated proprietary stack that nobody knows how to write for. So making it easy for developers is really important. So for us, it's what we call web technology. It's PWA, it's called a progressive web app. Yeah. So what you do is, you write a website that could be, with a local media player, you can run anything you want locally, but ultimately you already know, your developers already know how to build for ChromeOS. They don't have to learn something new. The documentation is the web. You obviously have other opportunities to run stuff locally with a cache, offline. But the way to think about it is the web has become so powerful, and we don't want you to have to write for an OS and then just rewrite it again. So when you write something for ChromeOS, it's going to run on Windows. Right? It's going to run on Linux. It's going to run on these other platforms if that's what you want to do.
So PWA also you have to use it for simple apps and everything. So it's very popular.
That's right. Yeah. And the thing I like about it is it's super lean.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot of CPU resources, right? You don't need the fancy Intel i7, even though the Intel guys might tell you that. But you really don't need that, right? You need just a basic, maybe i3, maybe Celeron, and a couple of gigs of RAM, and you'll be fine.
Thomas, we talked about sustainability already, that we can extend the life cycle of existing PCs. What about in general? Does it use a lot of energy when you use it on a standard PC or a standard computer or so? Or does it use less than a typical Windows device?
I love this question because in the States, I don't get that question a lot.
Well, you're European, or you know that.
This is great.
How relevant
I love
it's over
this.
here.
This is really good. This is sustainability, and people care. I deeply care about it. This is 100%. So one thing we figured out was that these systems shouldn't just be easy. They need to be as energy efficient as possible. We have customers that tell us, it's in Germany, right? Like, I think literally the government has asked some people to switch off the digital signage.
Last year, yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand, right? If this is a crisis, you have to do it. So we have put features in place that allow you to do that really easily. We could say, please switch certain things off at that point in time, put them to sleep or switch them off entirely. But more importantly, when
and
you
they power up easily again next morning, right? You have no problem with that.
They're coming back. That's right.
That's magic.
It's easy to switch them off, but it also takes some time to switch them. So our engineering team is working on a bunch of features in the space to make it even easier. The other thing we're doing is, though, we're looking at comparisons. And so, again, I hate to bring up our friends in Redmond again, but Windows takes up a lot. I mean, it uses a lot of power. And if you have thousands of devices, it matters. So we have done these side-by-side comparisons, and we do use a lot less power on a per-device basis for the same workloads, which for us is actually really important because that's where you see, right, the opportunity of saving.
Cool, good. Any questions? Because we have to end on time because he has to catch his plane. He is leaving to San Francisco in a few minutes. So we need to make sure but we have one question. Yeah.
Yes.
Do we have a microphone maybe somewhere? Or could you just come up a little bit? We have a microphone for you. Just wait a sec.
Kommt.
Good, thank you. Yep.
So again, a question about the device management. Imagine a retailer uses a device management software to run their Windows-based POS systems or digital signage or whatever. They already have a management system. If they use Chrome OS Flex, will they be able to integrate management of these devices into the system they already use? Or do they have to use your device? Or is it some sort of an integration possible?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for this question. We get this question a lot, actually, because we have no illusions, right? Like, we're not going in greenfield. There are existing device management solutions out there. So one thing we've done is we've launched API integrations. So for example, with VMware as one big EMM, which is the old AirWatch and whatnot, but then also with Intune, so you can see your devices in Intune. You can't push all the policies, restrictions, changes quite yet, but you can definitely do the inventory management and basic stuff there. The other thing we found is that there are other more niche EMMs that actually would be interested to integrate with us. So if you're aware of some of them, if you think this actually would be really useful, we are more than happy to have this conversation. One thing we found, if the retailers are really sophisticated, they might run their own thing, and we have had that conversation too. So we have one of the biggest fast food companies in the States. They said, we love your cloud platform to manage these devices, but we have our own stuff. So they integrated actually with our policy, we call it a policy API, and they can actually push changes from their own dashboards, from their own management interface. This is very sophisticated, obviously. So for us, it's more about like ChromeOS Flex, Chromebooks, they all work the same. It's the same license, it's the same management stack. So you can then manage them from third parties.
Good. Yeah, we have one more question up here. Could you get the microphone? Sorry.
Thanks, Robert.
Over here, first row.
I'm Gil from Novisan. We do CMS software. I was in Mountain View. I think it was end of 2015 when you launched it. I think it was Chris Riedl. There was somebody else. We were pushing our software with Google. We had a lot of challenges, and we swap everything back to Android slowly. We are very happy that you come back. The question is, how we can trust it's going to be reliable, and the other question, because we changed like 300 devices in one of the hospitals in New Jersey, for example, because of some issues we had. And the other thing is, back then you launched it with AOpen that did the hardware, and they were approved by Google. Yeah. The question: do you have any other cooperation like that now, like recommended hardware, players, kiosks, and so on?
Yeah. I hear you, right? So especially when you were there in the early days, you said like, what's happening, right? What makes you change your mind again or not, for that matter? So the way we look at this as a long-term bet for us. We are in this for the long haul. I know the technology companies can seem to like, oh, just one day this, next day that. We are committed to ChromeOS. The best way to show that is, instead of telling you, is we use this everywhere inside Google. Every Googler uses a Chromebook, but we use digital signage in Google. We have our kiosks powered by a ChromeOS, right? And so all of that is actually our own technology being used for our own critical process. So that is something that's super important for us to highlight. Like, we don't just ask others to trust us. With our technology, we are betting on it ourselves. The other thing I would say is, we're also betting on open source and just the web technologies as such. So you're not building anything proprietary, which is also important for us. The other thing, but I think the other second question is device choice. That was a problem back then. We didn't do a good job. You had you had AOpen and maybe one or two more.
HP, I think, right? Yeah.
HP. So our friends from HP are here today. So definitely talk to them about what we're doing with them now. But we support all the major OEMs and more. So you could go to HP and say, get me a dedicated kiosk, right? What about your signage solution, right? We started to talk to Samsung, right? Not everybody in Samsung might be familiar with this, but we're doing stuff with Samsung. So you get the diversity of these offerings. AOpen obviously is there. The interesting thing now, though, is with Flex, it becomes a very different conversation, because especially in signage, we can get you devices from almost anywhere. If your customers come and say, this is the one I want, this is the screen, this is the color, this is the size, let's talk. We were not able to do that 5 years ago or 8 years ago, for that matter. We didn't have the technology, we didn't have the OS. So that excites me about this space, right? Because one thing we found is kiosk is not about 2 devices. It's not about 5 devices. It's about all this diversity of form factors and functionality, and we are here to support it.
Cool, thank you. Thomas, thanks a lot. It was very insightful. Thanks for your time, and have a safe flight back. And hope to see you soon again, and exciting times for ChromeOS in the digital signage and kiosk world. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.